The scanner's harsh screech pierced through the training facility, and Sergeant Maya Rodriguez barely suppressed a sigh. The holographic display on her wrist blazed angry crimson, 3 different warning icons pulsing in what the designers probably thought was an urgent pattern. Threat level. Rising hostile intent detected, recommend immediate evacuation. She tapped the override code for the 4th time that morning. The screaming stopped, but the muttering didn't. Unbelievable, Cadet Zarkov hissed, his serpentine body coiling with barely contained disdain. The human sensor equipment malfunctions again. Perhaps your species should focus on basic maintenance before presuming to train the Galactic Defense Corps. Several of the other alien cadets rippled with amusement. The Valexians' chromatophores flashing in patterns Maya had learned meant laughter, while the massive Kronar cadet made a deep rumbling sound that shook the floor panels. Maya didn't respond. She simply walked to the center of the training mat, her slight frame, barely 5'6" and 130 pounds, looking absurdly fragile against the assembled cadets. Zarkov alone massed at least 400 pounds of scaled muscle, and he was one of the smaller ones. "All right," she said, her voice carrying despite its lack of volume. "Who wants to show me what they've learned?" The Kronar stepped forward. Thalmar, she remembered. 8 feet tall, chitinous armor plating, for arms, each capable of crushing steel. He made no secret of his contempt for the soft-skinned weakling the Corps had foolishly assigned as an instructor. "I will make this quick, human," Thalmar rumbled, his translator chip rendering his subsonic vocalizations into contemptuous standard. "Your species has no place training warriors. You are prey animals playing a predator. This charade ends now." Maya gestured him forward. "Whenever you're ready, cadet." The Kronar came at her like a freight train, 2 tons of armored muscle moving with shocking speed. His 4 arms reached for her in a pattern that would have trapped her in an unbreakable hold, a technique that had won him the All-Galaxy Grappling Championship in his weight class 3 years running. Maya stepped inside his reach. The scanner erupted. Threat level critical. Multiple lethal vectors detected. Evacuation mandatory. What happened next took less than 3 seconds. Maya's hand snapped out, fingers finding a gap in Thalmar's chest plating that she'd identified during their first training session. Not hard enough to injure, but with enough pressure to trigger the nerve cluster beneath. The Kronar's left side went briefly numb, a biological weakness his species rarely acknowledged, because almost nothing was fast enough or precise enough to exploit it. As he stumbled, Maya pivoted, using his own momentum against him. One of her boots caught his ankle, not the obvious primary leg, but the secondary stabilizer that bore most of his weight during a lunge. Basic biomechanics. Every species had them. Thalmar went down hard, the mat shuddering with the impact. Before he could recover, Maya had slipped behind him, and her arm, those thin, supposedly weak human arms, locked around his neck in a chokehold that targeted the vulnerable joint between his battle plate and skull. She didn't squeeze hard. Didn't need to. The message was clear. "Yield?" she asked politely. Thalmar's subsonic growl rattled her teeth, but he tapped the mat twice. Submission. Maya released him immediately and stepped back, offering a hand to help him up. He stared at it for a long moment, then reluctantly accepted. The training hall had gone dead silent. "Let me address some misconceptions," Maya said, turning to face the assembled cadets. Her wrist scanner was still screaming warnings, the AI utterly convinced she was moments from death. "You think humans are weak, fragile, unsuited for combat. You're absolutely right." She held up her arm, flexing it. "Compared to any of you, I'm pathetic. Thalmar could tear me apart barehanded. Zarkov's venom could kill me in seconds. Velshera's tentacles could crush my bones like kindling. On a purely physical level, humans are outmatched by virtually every species in the Galactic Defense Corps." Zarkov's forked tongue flickered in something that might have been satisfaction. "Then why?" "Because we've been fighting things stronger than us for 300,000 years, Maya interrupted. "Everything on our planet was trying to kill us. Predators faster than us. Diseases deadlier than us. Other humans smarter than us. We survived anyway. You want to know how?" She pulled up her wrist display, projecting a hologram into the center of the room. Earth. Pre-contact footage. This is persistence hunting, Maya said, showing footage of a human running after an antelope across an African plain. That animal is faster than the human, stronger, has better senses, but the human doesn't stop, doesn't quit, runs for hours, sometimes days, until the prey collapses from exhaustion. We're not the strongest predator on Earth. We're the most stubborn. The footage shifted. Human soldiers in ancient armor, facing down war elephants. Medieval knights, studying enemy formations for weaknesses. Modern special forces operators taking apart superior enemy positions through psychology and patience. We learn to read our enemies, Maya continued. To understand biomechanics, psychology, weakness. Every species has them. You just have to be willing to learn. She looked at Thelmar. Your nerve cluster. Every Kronar has it, but your battle culture considers it dishonorable to target. So you never train to defend it. She turned to Zarkoth. Your species has perfect thermal vision, but can't see in the ultraviolet spectrum. Those strike patterns you're so proud of? They're optimized for opponents you can track with heat. You'd be nearly blind against an enemy using UV reflective camouflage. Zarkoth's scales rippled with indignation. Those are theoretical weaknesses. In actual combat, you adapt or you die, Maya said flatly. Let me tell you about actual combat. She pulled up another file, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop. Battle footage from the Battle of Proxima Station 3 months ago. The Ravagers' first major assault on collective space. The cadets had all heard about it, but most hadn't seen the raw footage. Now, they watched in silence as the defense force crumbled. Thelmar's species, the mighty Kronar, being torn apart by biomechanical horrors that shrugged off their strength. Zarkoth's people, the Ssirix, dying by the hundreds as their venom proved useless against synthetic flesh. Then the human ship arrived. It was small, outdated by collective standards. Only 200 human soldiers aboard. The tactical AI had predicted they'd be overrun in minutes. The cadets watched as those 200 humans held the line for 6 hours. Not through superior firepower, they were outgunned. Not through better armor. The Ravagers tore through it like paper. They won through sheer, bloody-minded refusal to break. You see this. Maya zoomed in on a human soldier who'd lost his weapon. Instead of retreating, he'd pulled out a combat knife, a primitive blade, and was targeting the Ravagers' sensory clusters with surgical precision. Private Chun, former veterinary student. He spent the entire flight to Proxima studying Ravager biology from the initial contact reports. Found 17 exploitable weaknesses. Killed 32 of them with that knife before he went down. Another zoom. A human medic dragging wounded collective soldiers to safety, her own arm clearly broken. Corporal Washington. She'd been in combat for 4 straight hours, multiple fractures, running on stimulants and spite. She didn't evacuate until every non-human soldier was off the station. The footage shifted to the final moments. 53 humans left, surrounding the last evacuation ship. The Ravagers coming from all sides. The humans forming a circle, weapons empty, using their own bodies as barriers. They all died, Maya said quietly. Every single one. But they held long enough for 3,000 collective soldiers to escape. The analysts couldn't understand it. By every tactical model, they should have broken and run after the first hour. But they didn't. You want to know why? She turned off the hologram and looked at each cadet in turn. Because humans don't fight like you do. You fight to win. We fight to survive. And when survival means standing between death and the people depending on us, we don't move. Ever. The silence stretched. Finally, Thelmar spoke, his voice stripped of its earlier contempt. Instructor Rodriguez. I apologize. I did not understand. No, Maya agreed. You didn't. But you will. She gestured to the training mat. Again, this time, I want all of you working together. Squad combat. You think you know what you're up against now. The cadets formed up, uncertainty in their movements. They've been training as individuals, each confident in their species' natural advantages. Now, they were trying to function as a unit. Maya smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Scanner," she called out. "Threat assessment on current opposition." The AI's synthesized voice responded immediately, analyzing. "Threat level minimal. Current opposition poses no significant danger to equipped cadets." "Override threat parameters," Maya said. "Assessment target. Myself versus all cadets." Recalculating. A pause. "Threat level. Rising. Human opponent demonstrates superior tactical awareness. Exploitative combat methodology. Psychological warfare capability. High probability of—" "Thank you, Scanner," Maya interrupted. She looked at the assembled cadets, saw the uncertainty in their various eyes and sensory organs. "Here's what you're going to learn over the next 6 months. You're all stronger than me, faster, better armed by nature. But I've spent my entire life figuring out how to beat things that are stronger than me. That's what humans do. That's what I'm going to teach you to do." She dropped into a ready stance. Because when the Ravagers come back, and they will, they're not going to be impressed by your natural advantages. They're going to be bigger, meaner, and more numerous than anything you've ever faced. And the only thing standing between them and civilized space is going to be you. Maya's expression hardened. "So we're going to train. We're going to bleed. We're going to push past every limit you thought you had. And you're going to hate me for it. But when you're standing on some godforsaken station, watching the enemy come, and every tactical model says you should retreat." She smiled that terrible smile again. "You're going to remember what those humans at Proxima did, and you're going to stand anyway." Zarkotha's scales rippled, but this time it wasn't amusement or disdain. It was something else, something that might have been respect. "And if we fail, then you die," Maya said simply. "But you die buying time for everyone behind you. You die making the enemy pay for every inch. You die like a human." She paused. "Or you don't die at all, because I trained you well enough that you find a way to win instead. That's the goal." The scanner chirped again. Threat level rising. This time, nobody complained about it malfunctioning. Thalmar stepped forward, and one by one, the other cadets joined him. Not in opposition, but in formation. A squad. Maybe even the beginning of a team. "Show us," the Kronar rumbled. "Show us how humans survive." Maya nodded. "First lesson. Everything can be beaten. Everything has a weakness. Your job is to find it before the enemy finds yours." She gestured them closer. "Now, who here knows their own species' vulnerabilities? Because if you don't know where you're weak, you can't guard it. And you can't understand how an enemy thinks until you understand how you think." For the next 3 hours, the cadets went through the most brutal, enlightening training session of their lives. Maya was relentless, exploiting every weakness, praising every adaptation, pushing them past the point where they wanted to quit, and then pushing further. When they finally collapsed, exhausted, even a Kronar breathing hard, Maya stood over them looking barely winded. "Good," she said. "Tomorrow we do it again, and the day after, and every day until you stop thinking about what you can't do and start figuring out what you can." She helped Zarkoth to his coils. The Ssirix looked stunned. "You're all going to be excellent soldiers. You just need to learn one more thing." "What's that, instructor?" Velshera asked, her translator rendering her bioluminescent flashes into tired words. Maya looked at each of them, and for the first time, her smile was genuine. Warm, even. That being strong isn't about what nature gave you. It's about what you refuse to surrender. Humans learned that lesson in blood. Now I'm going to teach it to you in sweat. Because when the real blood starts flowing, you'll be ready. The scanner on her wrist had gone blessedly quiet. Or maybe it had just given up trying to quantify the threat level of a human who decided these cadets were worth protecting. As the class dismissed and the cadets limped toward the showers, Thalmar paused at the door. "Instructor Rodriguez?" "Yes, cadet. Those humans at Proxima Station. The ones who died." His voice was uncharacteristically soft. "Would you have been with them? If you'd been there." Maya's expression didn't change. "I was there, cadet." Thalmar's four eyes widened. "But the footage showed. It showed the final defense," Maya said. "I was on the third evacuation ship. Wounded. My squad leader ordered me aboard." Her jaw tightened. I had to watch from orbit as they died. Had to live with the fact that I survived and they didn't. So yes, I train you hard. Because every cadet, I turn into a soldier who knows how to survive. That's one less human who has to watch their friends die, buying them time to live. She met his eyes. You asked if humans have a place training warriors. We do, because we've been at war with the universe since we climbed down from the trees. And we're still here. That's not luck, cadet. That's skill. That's stubbornness. That's humanity. The scanner chirped one final time. Threat level assessment complete. Designated instructor, Sergeant Maya Rodriguez. Threat classification, extreme. Maya finally smiled. You know what? I'm keeping that. Might be the first time the scanner's been right all week. As Thelmar left, she heard him speaking to Zarkoth in the corridor. Tomorrow, we arrive early. Extra training. Agreed, the Ssirix replied. We have much to learn. Maya turned back to the empty training hall, looking at the scuff marks and dents their session had left. In 6 months, she'd turn these cadets into soldiers. In a year, she'd turn them into something better. A unit that fought like humans, combining their natural advantages with humanity's hard-earned lessons. The Ravagers were coming back. Everyone knew it. But next time, they faced something they hadn't encountered at Proxima Station. A Galactic Defense Corps that fought with human tactics, human stubbornness, and human refusal to know when they were beaten. She pulled up the memorial file one more time. The faces of the 53 humans who died holding the line. Her friends. Her family. I'll make sure it's worth it, she promised their frozen images. Every single one of these cadets is going to live because of what you taught me. The scanner remained silent. For once, it had nothing to add. In the corridor outside, the sound of cadets arguing about tactics and weaknesses echoed off the walls. Not contempt, not dismissal, real discussion, real learning. Maya Rodriguez, 5'6", 130 pounds, completely unremarkable by any species' physical standards, smiled. Sometimes the most dangerous thing in the galaxy wasn't what you could see coming. It was what refused to stop.